You are now entering Video Village.
Now on track to make our coal mines carbon neutral by 2030.
So first things first, there's a tiny little wrinkle we can iron out from the last episode.
Alright.
About cinema regulations.
Okay.
I tried to read up on it, but it's the whole thing. It's not a quick answer.
Right.
I didn't want to get into it. But the long and short of it is, as far as I can tell, if someone underage is allowed into an overage film, because we were talking about this in the context of
Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah.
How, green band and red band trailers.
Yes.
Why would you bother you're kind of tacitly marketing to people that can't see it legally?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure whether it was the law or whether it was merely guidelines, kind of the code of the cinema.
Okay.
It is law. I don't know how prosecuted it is. But yes, if an underage person is allowed into an overage film, the cinema would face prosecution, not the person.
Oh, okay. So I think that's pretty similar to how cigarettes and stuff works.
Yeah, or a bar, I assume.
Yeah, it's the bar that's liable for it.
Yeah,
rather not the person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that bit of bureaucracy done.
Okay.
Coming up,
we catch up on some of this year's offerings.
we discuss Quiet on Set, the dark side of kids' TV,
And then we review Borderlands,
The Last Stop in Yuma County,
Trap,
and Inside Out 2. So we're going to start off with a Sam's something. Not the Lexicorner.
Okay.
We brought the Lexicorner with us in the U-Haul, in the far right corner. Yeah. And now we're displaying the items from the Lexicorner in the newly erected Sam's Lexicentre.
Ooh.
Yes. Which annoyingly is on the outskirts of the town, of the village.
On while you're coming in?
No, not even.
So you got to make a...
Yeah, we only have one road in,
right?
And the same road out. Yeah, so we're kind of a little cloistered thing. Anyway, Sam's Lexicentre.
Samuel. Words. Phrases. Sam's
Lexicentre.
So this pertains to the jetty, where you said that the main character in the final episode kind of realizes randomly that she is responsible for the central crime
of the
show.
Yeah.
Informed by nothing, right?
Yeah.
Comes out of nowhere. So the term is lux ex machina, and that is when a character realizes something arbitrarily for the convenience of the plot.
Oh, okay. So Deus Ex is...
Well, obviously, God in the machine is what it literally means.
Yeah.
But as a film term, it means when the day is saved kind of arbitrarily.
Okay.
When it's not earned.
Yeah.
Right? So my go-to example is always adaptation, because they're kind of parodying that thing.
Yeah.
Where he says, I'm not doing any Deus Ex, I'm not doing any of that bullshit. And then in the final act, when he's confronted by John LaRoche with a shotgun, all of a sudden the crocodile comes out of nowhere and eats John LaRoche.
Right.
So, so this is lux ex machina in the same school, but like enlightenment in the machine.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
So that's Sam's Lexicentre.
Samuel. Words. Phrases. Sam's
Lexicentre.
So before we dive into any reviews on potentially our longest segment of the episode,
right,
we're going to do a little catch-up.
Okay.
On everything this year, really, that we haven't talked about, because the end of last year was a fucking nightmare.
So just trying to avoid that.
We're avoiding that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with a few recommendations.
Yeah.
So my first recommendation is Dee.
Okay.
Dee is a coming-of-age comedy drama, the male equivalent of 8th grade, really.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not as trenchantly naturalistic as that film, but it does have that verisimilitude, though there is a talking fish at one point.
All right.
It's a period piece. The main character is 13 in 2008. That's us.
Oh.
I know.
Are we period pieces?
We're now getting period pieces about our childhood.
Oh dear.
Yeah. A lot of it is about growing up online. It's an accurate representation of the internet. I was never on MySpace, so I didn't quite recognise that stuff. Bebo was a thing when I started. I don't know about you.
Well, it took me a while to adopt social media in general.
Okay, but you're on the internet before that.
Yeah, I'm aware of MySpace and whatnot.
It accurately represents a bunch of familiar things. That horrible period when the voices in the process are breaking and it has that squeakiness. Fortunately, I never went through this. Did you?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, we lucked out there, really.
Yeah.
The terror of friends getting their hands on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
I never talk to girls at that age, but I know it's spot on trying to figure out the correct emoji to use and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the girl saying over message, which is still weirdly pervasive, looking for a film to watch, any suggestions? That's always a go-to thing that they say. The film does make me think life would have been a bit easier with an older sibling. The evolving relationship with his sister was probably my favourite aspect of the film, and I thought Joan Chen, his mum, turned in a very nice performance. It's well made and well observed, but you've kind of seen it before.
Okay. Maybe the girls were asking you because, like, you were the film guy.
Well, apparently not.
Oh, you're saying that this happened in...
It's in DD, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she asks
Is
him.
he the film guy?
He sort of becomes the film guy.
Okay.
He makes skateboarding videos, which I think is autobiographical.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's an autobiographical film.
Yeah.
The Gentleman, season 1.
Okay.
You've seen a bit of this, right?
Yeah, like 2 episodes.
Yeah. So I saw this a while ago, and it came out at the very start of the year, but we hadn't talked about it, so... It's Guy Ritchie on a fun day, basically. It's all meaningless, really, but a colourful cast of gangster characters. Better than the film off of which it's spun, and much better than anything else he's done in a very long time.
Right. Yeah, because he's been quite prolific as of late, isn't he?
That's a word for it. But yeah, no, this is actually... I don't know how involved he is. I know he directed the first episode. I don't think he's writing any of this.
Okay.
So it's a lot better. The Grand Tour, One for the Road.
Yeah. This is the last motoring special presented by Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May, in which they drive 3 cars that they've always wanted to own from the edge of Zimbabwe to... Well, I kind of don't want to spoil it.
Okay. Is it Zambia?
I kind of don't want to spoil it.
Wouldn't be much of a drive is the point.
Right, okay. Oh, no, it's a drive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they go on a drive, you know?
Scotland.
I'm not answering that question, Sam. It kind of starts off like very business as usual. You've got the like opening title
Zimbabwe
sequence.
is very...
Sam.
No. Zimbabwe is very... It's the southern end of Africa.
Yeah.
So do they drive from the southern end of the world to the northern end of the world?
No.
The northern end of Africa.
No, Africa's very big. Like, even if you just drive...
I just said, from the southern end to the northern end.
Yeah, but even if you just drive, like, one country over in Africa, that's a long way.
Yeah, but this is the last one.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe they're driving from one end of the world to the other.
No, they're not doing that. That's ridiculous.
No, it's not. It'd take a fucking while.
Yeah.
I'm not saying driving the whole way.
You want to fit that in, like, 2 hours,
you can't literally. You have to pop on a ferry at some point. You compress that into 2 hours. Carry on.
Yeah, well, it starts very business as usual. You get, like, the opening title sequence, and then it just kind of, like, fades in on Jeremy Clarkson standing on a bridge going, hello, yes, this is the last one, let's just crack on with it. But the episode ends up kind of being a bit of a rolling boulder in this respect. You kind of start off with them retiring staples of the specials, like destroying the backup car that none of them want to drive, and even briefly considering the possibility of thinking about entertaining the prospect of assisting one of their colleagues that has broken down. Then they start encountering obstacles that inspire them to kind of revisit iconic moments from Top Gear and the Grand Tour, having to traverse lakes and modifying their cars so that they can run on train tracks. And then there's the ending, which I'm not spoiling.
All right. I wasn't going to ask you to.
No, but you have. You were like, where did they go? Well, that's the spoiler. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay. There's got to be somewhere that's in the canon of Top Gear. It's somewhere significant.
Well, this is the thing. It's not just a finale of the Grand Tour. It's a finale of those 3. So it's also kind of a finale of Top Gear.
Yeah.
Like Golden Age Top Gear.
Yeah.
Because I think Top Gear itself is over as well. Top Gear and the Grand Tour are entertainment programs living in the body of car magazine shows. These aren't the kind of shows that have a finale. They just stop making them one day. But One for the Road is very much a finale. It's a victory lap to be a wanker about it.
Yeah.
I understand that, like, your mileage with it will vary depending on your...
You can continue to be a wanker then? Right?
Sure, yeah. Didn't sneak that past you, did I? Yeah, depending on, like, your history with Top Gear or the Grand Tour. But I'll be honest, this might be one of the best TV finales I've seen in quite a while.
Ever?
I didn't say ever, I said quite a while.
Yeah, that's what I was interrogating.
Time will tell whether it's ever. But for now, I'm just content to say, like...
Was it cathartic?
Well, you did the thing now, didn't you?
What? I didn't steal that from you, did I?
No, you didn't steal it from me, but it's like, I have more to say.
Okay.
But coming off the back of cathartic...
My apologies.
It's an ending that puts to rest the kind of like the gurning and the kayfabe that like they do a lot in Top Gear. You know, those kind of segments where they kind of, it's presented as a thing that actually happened.
Yeah.
It's so very clearly staged.
It puts that to rest.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because obviously it's a planned moment because of the way that it's staged.
Yes.
But it's kind of like in The Office, the British Office now. There's a moment towards the end of the show where Tim takes Dawn off into a side room, and the whole format of the show is it's a mockumentary. So he's kind of professing his love for her, and to do that, he takes out his microphone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like breaking the format to enhance the story.
It's paying everything off. It's paying what the show is off.
Yeah. It has a similar moment to that, where it's kind of like breaking the format that it's kind of the show to have its ending.
Okay.
In a way.
But we know The Office is scripted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think Top Gear, the Grand Tour, it's kind of like wrestling. I mean, I said like last time, my relationship to it is kind of similar to wrestling, where, it is staged, but also they are doing it.
I think wrestling is probably a good analogy in terms of you have your beats. There are moments that are scripted and planned, but like within that, you can kind of improvise.
Yeah, because there are like, even outside of the special, you can tell when they're being sincere in their behaviour. Because like the gurning comes to a stop. They seem to genuinely belly laugh at the off-the-cuff moments. But yeah, it's, what we're left with is a finale that feels genuinely heartfelt and for what it is, emotionally resonant.
Okay.
The car show made me feel something, Sam.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm curious about the ending. If I can get through, I can't just watch the ending, or I can't just watch the specials. I'd have to watch the whole thing.
I really don't think you do.
No, I do.
Okay.
I'm not saying one does.
Because that's the thing.
I do.
Like I said, it's an ending to the Grand Tour and it's an ending to Top Gear.
Yeah.
So if you want to be thorough, technically you need to watch all of Top Gear.
I did pretty much watch all of Top Gear that they did.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And I tried the Grand Tour, and it's like, I haven't seen it in a long time, those three, and you go back to it now and it's a bit, oof.
Yeah.
They can be a lot to take, especially Hammond. I've got a problem with Richard Hammond.
Yes.
It's just so much that he... that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But I will give it a go.
Yeah, I would... It's a strong recommendation from me. But I acknowledge that, if you've got your problems with any of them, really, it's not going to convert you.
No.
But nevertheless, a very strong recommendation.
Okay. And another one for you, Kaiju number 8, season 1.
Indeed. This is an anime, Sam.
Oh dear.
And usually with anime, at the very least with anime that kind of is big enough to come to my attention, it's very economical in the sense that when you say the words, it's an anime, you've disclosed the genre, the art style, the plot, and the tone.
Yes.
What caught my attention, though, about Kaiju number 8 was that while it does open with, like, a kaiju battle in the middle of Tokyo, it's like, oh, it was anime. All of that is just kind of an inciting incident to introduce the main characters, who are members of a kaiju cleanup crew. Basically, they come in after the battle and they dispose and dismantle of the corpses.
Yeah.
Now, I, like you, am kind of exhausted with the whole bureaucratic afterlife trope in fiction, where people who die wake up in this kind of infinite office complex and they have to be processed by some aloof ponce.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that, is it? It's the action is happening off screen. It's the whole Star Trek Lower Decks thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're the side characters. Like what the West Wing was originally envisioned as.
Okay.
Which the president wasn't going to be in it.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was all going to be the people working around him.
I see.
So that kind of thing too.
Yeah. And yet, I do think that I am a bit of a sucker for things that focus on the infrastructure of a world where you would normally only focus on the fantastical.
Yeah.
It's kind of the reason why Vulture and a lot of the world building in Spider-Man Homecoming worked for me. Because it's showing the MCU at the ground level.
The nitty-gritty.
Rather than introducing another superhero and more mythology and another world-ending threat.
Yes. I mean, like, I'm torn about that kind of thing, because on the one hand, it can be interesting, but it's still treated as novel, and it's not novel. But it would be like the equivalent of, in Star Wars, you see, like, the factory where they make the lightsabers. I don't know how lightsabers are made, incidentally.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing.
It can be done badly.
Yeah,
and it can be indulgent, where it's like, we're going to have a whole show about how a lightsaber is made.
Yes.
It's like, I don't need that.
Exactly.
But it would probably be nice to see the world of Star Wars outside of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, which I guess is what Andor does, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I'll report back, because I'll watch it in time for the second season, so I think we will cover it at some point.
Yeah.
So I was completely on board for Kaiju number 8, an anime that I thought, like, even though it might not have been a grounded show, it was a grounded perspective. And then, at the end of the first episode, the main character swallows a kaiju.
I see.
I'm not elaborating on that.
I don't want you to.
Okay. And they gain the ability to turn into a kaiju at will.
Right.
And that kind of gives them the confidence and the ability to go and apply for the kaiju, like, hunting squad
that
were in the cold open. And that ends up becoming the show, where it's a typical, like, underdog hero showing their worth and, while secretly holding on to ultimate power.
So he has to keep it a secret, does he?
Yeah.
He's a kaiju. Okay, so it's Dexter, Breaking Bad, all those sorts of things.
I mean, that's a way of looking at it, I suppose. So yeah, I'm disappointed to report the Kaiju number 8 is merely an anime.
Right.
But it's good, it's slick, you know, you can tell that a lot of action has been put in, a lot of effort has been put into the action sequences.
Yes.
To make them feel, like, brutal and impactful. But it is made to share the stage with some, like, pretty silly humour that didn't quite work for me. It sort of feels like the show's going between two modes rather than delivering one consistent experience.
Yes.
That said, it was a comfortable enough watch. I'll probably watch the next season if they do end up making it. But I do think your relationship with it will entirely depend on your relationship with anime, because Kaiju number 8, it's an anime.
Well, to be all Cathy Newman about it, so what you're saying is it's not good enough that the fact it's an anime doesn't matter.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. So it's not for me is what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I'm talking to you. You know, we have listeners, but I am talking to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm only talking to you.
Yeah.
His 3 daughters.
Whose 3 daughters?
Well, indeed. This is a chamber piece performance showcase for Carrie Coon, Natasha Lyonne, or Lyon, however you pronounce that, and Elizabeth Olsen. It's hard to find much fault with it, but it's pretty small and really all about watching some acting. It's very theatrical in that respect.
Okay.
I think most people would be bored, but the cast is very good, and it's very human and insightfully written. It wins you over by the end, and there's an unexpected departure from reality that's really nice. I never yearned for siblings, but watching this makes me think that if I ever go through that being a parent being given palliative care, it'll be alone. But then it all is anyway, isn't it?
Right, okay.
Horde. So this is a strange little film. Newbie lead Sora, I think is how it's pronounced, Sora Lightfoot Leon, Hayley Squires and Joseph Quinn, him again, are fantastic. He continues to impress, especially because he's become kind of new blockbuster guy of late, isn't he? And this isn't that. The first chunk reminds me of Room, so a mother and her child in a small constructed universe.
Yeah.
It's very natural, very unique, and very British indie. It has the realism of Mike Leigh and Andrea Arnold with a splash of the animal and the fantastical. If you want something different, it's very worth your time.
Okay.
Reacher, season 2.
Yeah, okay.
So again, this is something we both watched that we both kind of liked, but we just never mentioned. Yeah, I mean, my memories of it are scant, but I remember it being quite good. Yeah,
well, it came as a surprise to me. I mean, it just reeked of...
Ruck.
Reeked of ruck.
No, it ruck.
Oh, it ruck.
Yeah.
It ruck of reeked.
Yeah.
It just looked like filler television show number 8072.
Yeah, without the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk format, where he moves on to a new town, solves a problem there, and hitchhikes to another place. Yeah,
I mean, I think that might be something to do with the source material, because I think Jack Reacher is kind of one of those things where it's just...
Well, a series of novels.
Yeah,
this is that story. But you're talking about a novel, they're churned.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. And also, I guess, just like based on the physique of the main guy, like, this guy is proper muscular.
Yeah, like surely this guy can't act. He's been cast for his body.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was very surprised when I watched it. I was like, oh, do you know what? It's actually pretty decent.
It is pretty decent.
Yeah. The acting in it works for the level of the show that it is. There's more, like, gore than I was expecting. There are tits, which I wasn't expecting in the first season. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the type of show where I was like watching, I was like, oh, do you know what? Fair play.
Yeah, it's kind of got the feeling of early slow horses, which is, this probably won't break the mold, but it's good for what it is.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it develops, but I can imagine it staying in the lane it's in.
Yeah, but I think
that's fine.
There's absolutely an audience for that.
Yes.
And it's harmless enough. I enjoyed what I saw.
Okay. Sherwood Series 2. I don't know if I spoke about the first series on the podcast, but I enjoyed it a lot. It's basically about a mining town, a town that was a mining town in the 80s before the closures, and there are lingering resentments and hostilities, and you kind of find out that back in the 80s there was a copper that was sent undercover in the miners to kind of undermine the whole, the strikes and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And who that is becomes the central mystery of the show. Meanwhile, there's a killer who is killing people with a bow and arrow, with a crossbow, in the manner of Robin Hood, so Sherwood Forest, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And that's somehow connected to this past thing. And so this continues the story. It's sort of like Happy Valley Series 2. It's not as good. It's not the same thing as the first series, but it's filled with great performances and a dose of violent British grimness.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of all I'll say about that. But again, worth checking out if you want something a little bit different.
Yeah, okay.
Starvaker. You haven't seen this, have you?
No.
No. So this is a folk horror film in the tradition of The Wicker Man, or latterly Mark Jenkin, but much smaller and more domestic. Matt Smith and Morvith Clark turn in decent performances as the central couple. You could watch it for them, but the reason to watch this is the tone.
Okay.
It's not for many. I'll say that. It's really not for many.
Okay. Because I like both of those people, so...
And they are good in it.
Yeah.
But you're not watching it for Matt Smith. You're not watching it for Morvith Clark. You're watching it for the strange, folky, indie British thing of it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll qualify and say that it's not for many people. But if it sounds half interesting to you, check it out.
Okay.
Them, the Scare.
Right.
Do you know what this is?
You're making things up now.
I am.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Well,
Them,
thank you for admitting it.
yeah. Them is an anthology show on Amazon. The first season was back in 2021.
Okay.
And then the second season dropped this year, unconnected to the first season. Proper anthology.
Oh, so that's the subtitle. Them,
the Scare.
I see.
The show's called Them. I didn't see the first season. It's black American horror, set in LA in 1991. The lead is a black female cop in the LAPD, investigating a series of grisly murders. The politics you can infer.
Yeah.
But there's some arresting imagery there, and a very interesting villain arc in the co-lead. It kind of follows these two characters, and one is a villain origin story, essentially.
Okay.
So, you know, and it is grim, and it's grisly. The murders are like, you remember them.
Okay.
So, yes, I'd recommend that.
Does that have any connection to us?
No.
It doesn't. Okay.
Why did you think it... Oh, because Them and Us.
Yeah,
No,
them, us,
no,
and
no,
also kind of black horror, like...
No, they're not
fiction.
all connected, George.
Okay.
They're not all friends.
All right, okay.
Okay, True Love.
Okay.
This was a mini-series on Channel 4 at the start of the year. Very small British drama series that will surely fall into obscurity. So I'll do my best. Well, not this. This won't help. But the less said about the plot, the better. But essentially, it's about a group of friends in their 70s, pondering death, that make a pact. And then circumstances test that pact.
Okay.
Lindsay Duncan and Clark Peters, the two leads, are very good. And it's still strange for me seeing Clark Peters in these things, because he's most known for The Wire.
Oh, right.
He's an elderly black American man.
Yeah.
He's into Five Bloods as well. But he lives in the UK. And I think he might even be British or went to school here or something like that.
Okay.
So he pops up in things like Midsummer Murders. Right. Like, you're in The Wire. But yeah, it's very good.
Okay, so you're saying that you recommend True Love?
True Love. I do.
Yes.
Not actual true love.
Oh.
Fuck that shit. Done with that. And Wicked Little Letters.
Yes.
Almost a Wallace and Gromit depiction of quaint Britain, isn't it?
A little bit.
But with profanity.
Yeah.
British critics weren't that fond of it, and I understand. Americans like it a lot more, and I understand.
Okay.
You liked it more than I did.
I did.
Would you like to explain why?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, is it worth saying that it's based on a real-life scandal?
I suppose it could be worth that,
Yeah, it was based on a real-life scandal.
Yes.
It occurred in, I think it was 1920s Britain.
Yes.
Definitely occurred in Britain. I think it was in the 1920s. In which, the peaceful life of this kind of seaside town is disturbed when residents start falling victim to a serial hate mailer. Now, while the characters take this crime seriously, the film doesn't.
Yeah.
It recognises the absurdity and the humour in putting Olivia Colman in period costume and making her say things like, "You mouldy old tart," "You foxy-ass beetle-headed slut." These are quotes from the film. And, "Oh, fuck off, you pasty old shriveled old piss bastard fucking old cunt."
Sure.
The film for me was carried by the three big performances from it. There's the aforementioned tightly wound Olivia Colman.
Yes.
Her proper piece of shit father, played by Timothy Spall. And then the character's former best friend, played by Jessie Buckley.
Yeah. The neighbour.
The neighbour, yeah. She kind of plays this Irish suffragette at a time in which that wasn't fashionable in England, with a very sharp tongue.
Yeah, she's sort of an out of historical context character, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of the cast didn't come anywhere close for me to those performances, but I don't remember there being any weak links in the chain.
Nor do I.
Yeah.
I just remember it being a meager work, really.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You've got those two elements, and then the cinematography and the editing and stuff, they're all very pedestrian.
Yeah.
But I think in a way where it's trying not to distract from the fun profanity and the performances and the script as well, which I'll admit, outside of said fun profanity, it's fine.
Yeah, it's
the script. Yeah, it's very predictable and there's not that much depth to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I found the end film charming nonetheless.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but I do understand why a lot of British critics didn't respond to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're there for the colourful profanity and you're there for the well-calibrated performances, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, after all, this is a film where a character gets so offended by the content of a letter, they die.
Yeah.
So the film does have a sense of humour about its subject.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's kind of lightweight, isn't it? You know? Despite the profanity, it's pretty lightweight.
Yeah. I don't think that worked against it that much. I think it seems like it did for you.
Well, only in insofar as not taking it that seriously. It's like, yeah, all right, that passed.
But why would you take this seriously?
But I mean, like, I'm not 13. Like, colourful profanity only goes so far with me.
Yeah, but it's like it's like nice colourful profanity.
Yeah, it's good. But like I said, I didn't dislike the film. I just kind of thought, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Not one of the best films of the year.
Yeah.
You think that, though, right?
Well, no, I mean, we're still figuring that out, aren't we?
But so far.
It's like in the upper tier. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not quibble.
I enjoyed it.
Let's not quibble.
I say give it a go.
I say, sure, why not? But don't expect a lot.
Okay.
Okay. Now some non-recommendations. These were bad things.
Do you say wicked little letters?
Well, no, I am going to have better.
I'm going to write you a very strongly worded letter.
You're the only person it could be from. Okay, Apartment 7A. So this is a prequel film to Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It vies for the most pointless prequel ever made.
Right, okay.
And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. I'm pretty sure it rewrites the facts of the original.
Yeah.
They just wanted to do a remake of Rosemary's Baby, but that wouldn't be kosher.
Okay.
Because it's a classic. You don't remake Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
It follows Rosemary's Baby pretty much beat for beat. It replicates certain shots, but it was awful.
Okay.
And completely pointless. Totally pointless. Even with Diane West in it, or West, however it's pronounced.
Okay.
Avoid at all costs. Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
I don't even remember this.
Okay, you did see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Bill Skarsgård. Mm-hmm. He Skarsgårds and then brutally kills them in Boy Kills World. It's an action film where he has to slaughter his way through...
He doesn't scar them, does he?
I mean, they seem pretty scarred up, you know?
But they wouldn't have enough time to have scars, surely. He slices them, maybe.
It doesn't... Sam.
Yeah.
It's clear what I was doing.
Just because you're bending over backwards for an awful pun, it still has to make coherent, logical sense.
Cathartic.
Yeah, but that's because you're coming off the back of mileage or whatever the other fucking one was.
That's a feasible thing to say in that context.
All right.
Anyway.
Carry on.
Yes. It's Bill Skarsgård.
He hurts guards and then gives them time to scar and then kills them.
Shut up. You have already removed yourself from this discussion by saying, like, oh, I don't remember it. So
I don't.
Shut up.
So all I can do is jab at you. That's all I've got.
No. Shut up.
No, I'll go on, carry on.
Yeah, he needs to slaughter his way through the cast until either revenge is achieved or there's no one left to kill. But it's not Bill Skarsgård does John Wick. The action is actually a lot more close to the Raid.
Yeah.
In fact, Mad Dog from the Raid, who I think is the choreographer, isn't he?
Probably. Yayon Ruyan. He tends to be the choreographer for the films in which he stars.
Yeah, he's in this as kind of like the mental character.
Yeah.
And so what we've kind of ended up with is a film that has very dynamic, very visceral, very well choreographed action, trapped in a film that's pretty shit, I'll be honest.
It is shit, yeah.
Yeah. The gimmick is that Skarsgård can't speak. And so they've depressingly tethered him to this inner monologue that's kind of like speaking in this like video game announcer voice.
Is it like is Borderlands the game like that? What's the game? There's a character that can't speak, but the inner monologue is like this crazy... Or he does speak, but it's incomprehensible. And he has an inner monologue that's like a British man that speaks very clearly.
Oh.
That might be Borderlands.
I don't know if it's Borderlands, but that's sounding familiar to me. Yeah. But yeah, constantly talking, quipping during the heat of battle, robbing us of the chance for a genuinely cool silent protagonist for no fucking reason. Because the characters are so shallow and the script is so riddled with cliches that pretty much all of the spoken dialogue in this film is basically a formality.
Yeah.
I'll admit, like, you don't go into a film like this for well-written dialogue or for award-winning performances, but you can't let those elements atrophy. Wicked Little Letters didn't, even though its priorities were clearly focused on, those, like, its core elements. This absolutely does let those elements atrophy. If it belongs anywhere, it belongs on a stuntman show reel. That's it.
I don't remember it, but I do remember it being shit.
Yeah.
That, I concur with that, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. The Deliverance.
Okay.
So this is from Lee Daniels, who in a former life did Precious.
Right.
This happened to a lot of directors, but we'll come back to that. So it is ostensibly based on a true haunting. All these things are based on true hauntings.
Okay.
About this black family, but with Glenn Close as the mum, So apparently a true haunting in I think it's the Ammons haunting or some shit like that. Basically, psychologists after the fact concluded that the kids were acting deceptively and mimicking the mother.
Okay.
So she was claiming all these things and the kids were parroting her in a very obvious way.
Right.
So it's obviously not fucking true.
Yeah.
But the film takes a hard line that it is true, or whether it's kind of ignoring the realities of the fact. And like, well, it's doing a horror film kind of loosely based on, but it does end with, you know, and after this, she did this, she did that.
Okay.
So it obviously has some stock in the veracity of the mother's claims. It's awful.
Right.
It's a bad film. Despicable Me 4.
Oh, okay.
I'm throwing this on to you because, again, I don't remember it. But I know we both didn't like it.
Yeah. That's a film that I don't really remember. And I'm all the more glad for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fourth Despicable Me film. It's not even the fourth Despicable Me film because we've had like 2 Minions movies and maybe even like a Gru origin story at this point.
That? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
The Rise of Gru. That was Minions.
It might have been the Minions, actually. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but 6.
Yeah. That's a lot of films for any franchise.
Yeah.
It's weird because, like, obviously Illumination recently did the Super Mario Brothers film. And I do think that was a step up in animation for them. I don't know whether it was their lighting engine in particular, but it just, like, even though...
It popped, yeah.
Yeah, even though it kind of had that, like, very simple, stylized Illumination animation style to it, it just kind of looked a bit more... It just had a bit more life to it.
Yeah.
Like that opening scene they used in the teaser trailer where Bowser's raiding, like, the Penguin Castle.
Yes.
Like, that looks good.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm assuming, like, whatever lessons they learned for the Super Mario Brothers film, they're now applying that to Despicable Me 4. But there's an uncanniness to the way that this film looks. It's like the models aren't high fidelity enough to keep up with the quality of the animation.
Yeah.
I might have, like, been seeing things, but it felt like there was very visible, like, motion blur to the models, as though it was trying to kind of hide things.
Okay.
And yeah, seeing these characters under, like, realistic enough lighting, it just didn't look right.
Yes.
The whole film. And that's all I'm really going to say about it, because it's Despicable Me 4.
Yeah, there's nothing to say.
Yeah. Any like, good ideas that they had have long since been used.
Yeah.
And I think Steve Carell is kind of going through the same problem as Marge Simpson's voice actor, where he's really struggling to do the voice at this point.
Yes. No, it needed a mention without much elaboration.
Yeah.
But yeah. Duchess. So this is directed by Neil Marshall in a stunning fall from grace. Well, not only this, to be fair, but so in the start of his career, he brought us Dog Soldiers and The Descent, and latterly episodes of Game of Thrones and Hannibal, including The Great Red Dragon.
Ooh.
In recent years, he made the Hellboy reboot, and we have another one actually out this week.
Yeah, which is a different reboot, right?
Another reboot,
Yeah.
Then some films you haven't heard of, and this one doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Okay.
It stars Charlotte Kirk, his girlfriend, maybe wife, I don't know. It's total wannabe Cockney gangster, tough gal rubbish.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say about it.
Okay.
Firebrand. This is a film about Catherine Parr, feminist icon.
Right.
Married to King Henry VIII. He's off to battle, so she's kind of like regent, handling things, whatever. Her sister's a forest feminist. Out there in the trees telling people, women,
Right.
Again, completely out of history.
Is a forest feminist a thing?
Well, no, I made it up.
Is that just a feminist in a forest?
It's all tree hugging, part of nature. Like, let's not wear pads. That kind of feminist.
Oh, okay.
I suppose it's a bit like Jessie Buckley in Wicked Little Letters. There's an ahistoricism to that characterization.
Okay.
Jude Law, who plays King Henry VIII, is the only thing you care about. And when he's on screen, the only thing you watch. And completely dominates the film. And I love the irony, the delicious irony of that
Right.
for this feminist fable.
Is he, like, in it? Or is it one of those things
No,
where...
he's in it.
Okay, so it's not one of those films where he's, like, in the first 2 minutes, but he's all you remember.
No, he's in a lot of it.
Okay.
And he's the only good thing about it.
Right.
And I love that. But it's a bad film. Greedy People, a tired Coen-esque crime noir clone. Not every film can milk the talent that its cast has to offer. Sometimes an Oscar winner just has a bit part. But between Lily James, Tim Blake Nelson, Joey Lauren Adams, Nina Arianda, even Uzo Aduba, it feels like a major waste. There's a bizarre detail of a hitman advertising in a local store.
Okay.
Just has his flyer up on the wall. The rest of the film is basically grounded. Here it leaves the bounds of reality completely. The character needed a hitman at the time, so there. I'm really sick of the crime lord known by his or her nationality, the Colombian, the Frenchman, that sort of thing. By the end, I just resented how derivative the whole thing was, and the fact that certain actors agreed to do it. In truth, there's some envy. Even though we're not making anything, I just thought, what are you going with them for?
Yeah.
I'm so much better for you. To be avoided. And finally, If.
I'm trying to remember what this is.
Did you even see it? It's the John Krasinski, Ryan Reynolds talking monsters.
No, I was warned off.
Yeah, no, rubbish.
Yeah.
But I think given our coverage this year, something I felt was conspicuously absent.
Okay.
That's because there was nothing to say.
Right, okay.
So all I'll say now is that John Krasinski can do better and Ryan Reynolds still sucks.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. And then we just have some mentions that are kind of somewhere between a recommendation and not.
Yeah.
So firstly, All of Us Strangers. This is another gay film from Andrew Hay, or Haig, Gay Hay. And I'm not saying that derisively.
Right.
There are very good performances from Andrew Scott, Paul Mescal, and Claire Foy. We didn't mention it at the start of the year. It kind of came out January 1st or something like that. And it's probably the biggest critical hit we've overlooked so far.
Okay.
So it felt prudent to mention it at some point this year. So I'm doing it now.
So why is it in the middle? Why is it not a recommendation or not?
For what it is, it's very good. What it is, though, isn't entirely my jam.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, you'll love it. You know, it's a proper awardsy kind of film.
Yeah.
And it's well made. But again, it's not for everybody.
Okay.
A Very Royal Scandal. So we had Scoop earlier this year, didn't we?
That's what it was called.
Yeah,
I was trying to remember the name of it.
Yeah, I was looking up yesterday, and I watched it. The Netflix film about the Prince Andrew, the infamous interview with him. A Very Royal Scandal is on every level exactly what you would expect.
Okay.
Ruth Wilson and Michael Sheen do the thing. There seems to be an agreement that Alex Jennings be in every British show about people of a certain class.
Right.
Joanna Scanlon, who's in this, won the BAFTA for Best Actress in film, no less, a few years ago. I don't know how many offers she is fielding, but if she's chosen to just remain a local jobbing actor on TV, good for her. Because she's in Slow Horses now as well.
Yeah.
Supporting roles, you know, she's a really good character actress. It's pointless, really. If you're interested, just watch the actual interview.
Okay. Which I think was also the wide criticism levied at Scoop, wasn't it? It was like, well, just watch the interview.
And I think a criticism that can be more broadly levelled at modern historical biopics.
Okay.
Well, I've seen all of that. I've seen it on YouTube. I've seen all of that there.
Yeah.
I didn't need a film about it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think reality is one of those rare exceptions where I feel like it does add to... Because that is literally a case of it's just the transcript of the recording.
Well, it has a very unique approach.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that.
Yeah.
You know, so it lends faces to it, obviously. For some reason, I find that I don't much care about this story, about Prince Andrew in general.
Okay.
I'm just not that interested in it.
I think, obviously, like the subject matter, a lot of people react to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was just a good interview, wasn't it? Like, good in the sense that, like, it was dramatic.
Yeah, it was like Frost Nixon sort of thing. Yeah. But just watch the interview.
Yeah.
Frost Nixon is not a brilliant film, but it does actually do stuff other than that. You know?
Right.
And it contextualizes it, and it maybe kind of... it fictionalizes it to some extent, but in a way that's good for the drama.
Yeah.
Whereas this doesn't. Kill and Monkey Man. Both India set action movies. Neither were really for me, but there is an audience for it.
Yeah.
The Raid on a Train, as you've said, for Kill.
Yeah.
Under Siege 2 in India, take your pick of all those comparisons.
Yes.
I hated the Bollywood leading man. Hated him.
Okay.
And some of the Bollywood tropes that I felt made their way into it. It's not Bollywood.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the things that I liked about it is that it doesn't feel Bollywood.
It's not Bollywood.
This very much falls into the camp of foreign film that's palatable to a Western audience.
I agree, because it is the Raid on a Train.
Yeah.
But it had one or two elements of Bollywood, like very exaggerated shots.
Okay.
So the turning point, I feel like you're going to mention.
Oh yeah, like just before the title card.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of starts off as a pretty standard kind of action thriller, like on a train. It's kind of doing everything you expect it to do. And then about 45 minutes in, something happens.
Yes.
And that brings in the title card, Kill, which ends up kind of becoming the ethos of the film going forward.
Yes.
Very much the ethos of the main character as well going forward.
And that moment, no pun intended, is executed in a very over-the-top fashion.
Yeah.
That was reminiscent of Bollywood. Again, it's just not for me.
Okay.
I know there's an audience for it.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm kind of done with the Raid thing. I'm kind of done with it. Like, every action film now is trying to do that
really?
sort of thing.
Because I would eat up the Raid 3 if he ever actually gets around to
I'd eat up the Raid 3.
Yeah.
Yes, but everyone else that's doing it.
Right.
I'm sick of that.
Okay.
I don't care about John Wick. Extraction couldn't care less.
I don't know, but John Wick isn't the Raid, I wouldn't
It's
say.
trying to do that kind of thing.
No.
It's trying to... Yeah, of course it is. Balletic action sequences.
Yeah, but there's more like gunplay involved in
Yeah,
John Wick.
it's not so martial arty.
Yeah.
That's in there, obviously. But, you know, where action films are based around hyper-choreographed set pieces.
Yeah.
And there's a place for that, but I'm kind of bored with it now.
Well, that's interesting because what's the name? Is it Silat? The name of the martial art that the raid is based on?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's 2 words, I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, what's interesting about that is because I think I've seen behind the scenes things with the actors that were involved, and I think they said like the philosophy of that martial art is reaction. Like whatever the person that's hitting you does, you do a move that counters that,
Right.
and that creates an opening to. I know that sounds quite broad, but it's not like it's all focused on your hands or it's all focused on your feet or it's all focused on your breathing. It's focused on you reacting to your opponent. So for you to kind of say that they're characterized by these hyper choreographed action sequences, that's kind of interesting because there's a little internal contradiction there. I'm not saying you're wrong.
No,
I'm
yeah,
saying
but,
that's
no,
interesting.
but of course. I mean, but you can always tell, can't you? Like, they make it look seamless a lot of the time. But, yeah, so is that it for Kill? Monkey Man?
Yeah, I haven't seen Monkey Man, so I've got nothing to say about Monkey Man.
Yeah, I don't know much really.
My main problem with Kill is that it was too long. And it's not a long film. It's like an hour 40, I think. Hour 45. It should have been an hour 20.
Yeah, like The Raid is about that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no need for genre films really to be much longer than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially since after the title card, and like the first couple of sequences after the title card, you get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really evolve past that.
No. Yeah, I find it quite samey as well. I don't know about you.
I mean, it's literally set on a train.
I mean,
they probably had one train car they were filming in.
Yeah, but the fight sequences, I found them quite samey.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what can you do? In a space that restricted?
Well, exactly. But in a space that restricted, you kind of have to be inventive, don't you, with the action?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I just think that there is a limit, and I think they hit that limit at some point quite clearly.
Okay, another little duology here, though they're completely unrelated. Sasquatch Sunset and stop motion.
Okay, why are you pairing these two together?
Well, because these are 2 films that generated a fair bit of buzz when they were released, and certainly before they were released. Again, neither were my cup of tea. Sasquatch is a weird blend of tones that absolutely fell flat for me. The stop motion in stop motion is good.
Okay.
But there's not nearly enough of it for a film with that title.
Yeah. I
just remember its aesthetic and tone feeling grim. A slightly tamer version of Matthew Holness's Possum.
Okay.
I've only coupled them up because, again, they're kind of films that maybe we would have talked about, and they both start with S.
Okay.
Basically, is my rationale for that. And finally, Supercell Season 1.
Okay.
Essentially, it's Black Heroes, the TV show Heroes.
All right.
The same kind of powers, and even the jumping forward to some unspecified disaster. Amateurish CGI, visually quite boring. A lot of it is concerned with roadman culture, in which I'm just not interested. It's not as political as you might expect. I got through half of it, and it's perfectly fine. Again, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
But it seems to have really taken off. Critics absolutely adore it.
Okay.
But that could be expected, I suppose. Yeah, that's it for all the mentions.
Okay.
Let's do some reviews, shall we?
Let's do it.
How about, let's start with Quiet on Set, the dark side of kids' TV.
Okay.
I haven't seen this.
No, I have. This is a 5-part documentary about the toxic culture in the world of children's TV, particularly Nickelodeon, during its heyday in like the 90s and the noughties.
Yeah.
Said toxic culture covers everything from allegations of racism to accounts of female writers and only female writers being made to share a single salary.
Right.
And the institutions, or at least respected people within those institutions, hiring registered sex offenders to work directly with children and teenagers.
Yes.
So this is a sensitive one to critique.
You know what? I haven't seen it, and it is. I don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't care.
No, I care about being thorough and correct and everything.
Yeah.
But right, as far as I knew, it was about the abuse of children.
Yeah.
The salary thing, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's wrong.
That's not related to children. It kind of covers
it covers all the various
because it takes aim at the producers, so it covers like their adult staff and it focuses on the children as well.
The whole like pay female, if you're doing the same job you should be paid the same amount of money.
Yeah.
But in the context of child rape, I don't really care about what the women were making compared to the men.
Yeah, I mean you're kind of jumping to like one of my problems
sorry,
with
okay.
it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's just like going in like people are going to go, I don't really care.
I think that is a problem with it. Yeah, because there's like I said, there's a scope to the toxicity that's covered.
Yeah.
One of the stories that it kind of deals with is the story of Drake Bell. Yeah. Now, I never watched Drake and Josh.
I did.
But such was Drake and Josh's cultural impact. I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, this documentary kind of tells his story of how he was
groomed.
To use like a current reference, episode 4 of Baby Reindeered.
Okay, so he was hypnoled and raped, anally raped. Well, be clear about it. Well, you know,
I was trying to be delicate.
No, I know. But I think that's actually a problem, is euphemisms.
Okay.
Like in a court case, it would be, just say what it is.
Okay. Well, yeah, that
He was
happens.
drugged and anally raped. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he was anally raped. It was like not...
He was raped.
Yeah, something happened.
Okay.
Like of that caliber. I feel like the documentary's coverage of that story, it does feel fairly thorough. Not least because the first 2 episodes, this is like episode 3 and 4 covers Drake Bell. The first 2 episodes, it focuses more on Dan Schneider,
Right.
who's a producer that Drake Bell admits was kind of like one of the only people that was actually on his side during that period of his life, and seemed to have no ulterior motive to him as well. So kind of showing a character that a lot of people believe to be a monster doing some genuine good for someone that we're all so sympathetic to. It's that little sort of nuance that makes you trust a show.
Okay.
It's like, okay, well, they're not like, they don't have an agenda because
they're not vilifying.
Yeah, they're not totally vilifying this guy. They're showing both sides of what's happening. But I was being a little dishonest earlier when I said this is a 5-part documentary, as indeed did the show.
Right, okay.
Because this is a 4-part documentary.
Right.
The 5th episode, the final episode, is sort of like an after-show special.
Right.
That was filmed and came out after the documentary.
Right.
In which they bring back a lot of the victims that were featured to fluff up the documentary.
Okay.
And the impact it's had on the culture.
Right.
They bring Drake Bell back, and they kind of talk about like, oh, so how has the documentary benefited you?
Hang on. When was the 5th episode released?
It was after the
way after.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't have the exact release date in front of me.
Did a similar thing.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Yeah, where it's like they're like, okay, so documentary's come out. We're going to talk about how great it is.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, they bring Drake Bell back, and they're like, right, tell us about the effect it's had on you. That interview takes place, and then there's a moment where they say to him, "You actually have written a song about that period of your life." And he goes, yes. And they go, let's play some of that for you now.
Oh, dear.
So they play some of the music video.
It's not Daddy, is it? Like Corn?
No, it's not Daddy like Corn. Yeah, you wrote this song in 19 or whatever it was. Yeah, they kind of play a little bit of the music video. The visuals are kind of like what you'd expect as well.
Black and white?
Yeah, I don't know if they're black and white, but it's, someone going into a trailer and the camera panning away.
A big hand in slow motion, kind of edging closer to a small hand on a couch, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that not that visual specifically, but that kind of genre of visual.
Like the NSPCC adverts used to get. Of like a baby crying in a crib and the door slammed shut in slow motion.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So they show the music video.
Yes.
And then they cut back to the interview, and the interview goes, and you can buy that song now on whatever platforms it's available.
Okay.
That just felt distasteful.
Tacky.
Yeah.
Hasn't Drake Bell been accused of things?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's part of the reason that he agreed to do it, because I don't think this story was known before the documentary came out.
About Schneider?
No, about Drake Bell, about what happened to him.
What happened to him, yeah.
Yeah, so, they kind of cover it in the documentary about there were lots of people covering his kind of fall from grace.
Yeah.
How he kind of fell off the wagon and he fell into, like, substance abuse and stuff. And they were critical of him for that. And he was kind of saying, like, well, now I'm giving you, like, the context.
Here's why, right.
Yeah, as to why that was happening to me.
Okay.
And that's another reason why he kind of, like, is grateful to Dan Schneider, because it's like, he knew what was happening. He didn't blame me for anything.
But it's not just substance abuse, though, right? Hasn't he been, like, Me Too'd? He's been accused of sexual abuse, hasn't he?
Maybe.
With minors.
Yeah, I can't 100% remember it.
I'm saying that's what I think.
Okay.
Just in case anyone litigious out there. I'm pretty sure he's been accused of sexual misconduct. I don't know whether it's with minors, but I think it is.
Yeah. I mean, that is something, like, if you're being fair and thorough, the documentary should cover. I don't know if it did.
Okay.
I'm not
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
If you're going to get him in, you're like, and of course, you've been accused of blah, blah. And then you might see it as, like, hand-wringing for him to go, oh, it happened to me, and therefore the cycle continues on. But at least it's addressed.
Yeah. And it might be. I don't want to dwell on the point too much, because I genuinely don't know. Right. I just want to focus on how distasteful I found the fact that this documentary...
It was a plug.
Yeah, seemingly transitioned from, like, honest piece of journalism to advertisement.
Yes.
For... I know it's, like, related to the subject talking about, but, don't say, like, go buy the song.
Yeah.
And then, kind of what you alluded to earlier, there are some instances where you've got, obviously, like, the Drake Bell thing, where it's like, I completely understand why this is here and focused on in the documentary. Then you got some other ones where it kind of feels more questionable why they were included. In that 5th episode, they have an actress of colour recounting a sketch that she participated in during...
Actress of colour. What is she?
She's black.
Right.
She's black.
Yeah, okay.
She... it's like, I think it's the Amanda Bynes show.
Right.
Where she was like doing a sketch on that. The sketch was called The Literals, and the joke was like whenever she said to Amanda, the main star Amanda, spit it out, she'd spit like water in her face.
Okay.
Because it's the kind of silly shit you get on a kid's show.
Yeah.
The black actress wasn't happy with this, became like visibly unhappy with it.
Right.
And so apparently the director pulled her aside and went, look, Amanda is the star. I will speak to her about her spitting in your face, but you need to just kind of like relax, basically. And when they cut back to the studio, they have like the mother of one of the people that was kind of like a child actor in that era, who I think died. I think like substance abuse got him in the end.
Okay.
So yeah, she kind of turns to the producer, and without anything even being said, she just goes, "That's racist,"
Okay.
as if like we all know that's racist. It's a fact that's racist.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, it's
not.
she is the star. It probably, you know, if it was upsetting the other actress, then, you know, but the director was like, I will speak to her. But
Well, what's racist exactly?
the fact that she was pulled aside and told to chill out, basically.
Okay, well, that's not racist.
Well, the documentary and the people within it are pretty confident that it is.
Okay.
There's also another little thing. Again, I think he might be black. I don't remember. But it's not important to the anecdote. There's like a young actor who did a sketch where he played like a nose-themed superhero.
Right.
And part of his costume was that he had these like big noses on his shoulder with these like bulbous nostrils.
It does matter if he's black.
Oh, does it? Okay. No, actually it doesn't.
Okay.
Because the whole thing with him is that like, if you actually look at those noses, they clearly look like penises.
Oh, right.
So his whole thing is like, they made a child wear penises.
Okay.
It's like,
So
I just think that the art department was shoddy. I don't think they were actually penises.
They're overreaching. I mean, I have no doubt that children's TV is littered with stories like this.
Oh, like, I believe a lot of what this documentary reported
and
on.
I've heard other former child stars say like, oh yeah, I escaped that like hellish fucking system without really talking about it.
Yeah.
Like I got out easy, you know, I got off easy.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's endemic to it. Because if you're a child predator, you probably go and work with children.
Yeah, I mean, you'd want to, but you'd like to think that there are safeguards in place to stop that from happening.
If you're an unconvicted child predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, again, it's the same with scouts and the priesthood, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you want access to children, those are the jobs that attract.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't want it to seem like my only problem is with the content of the documentary. The form has its problems too.
Okay.
This show, it very clearly wants to have a style. You know, like old CRT television monitors being filmed at an angle and very close up so you can see the pixels.
Yeah.
You know, VHS tapes with like handwritten labels and stuff like that.
Yes.
This is a documentary that very clearly wants to be seen. Not just that, you know, it wants an audience, it wants people to see the documentary beyond the subject matter. And I think its conspicuous editing is further proof of that.
Well, this is, so far, it's the documentary of the year.
Yeah. And
Series.
I think that is because of its subject matter.
Yeah, it's kind of, it broke ground in terms of like, we didn't know about this.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those subject matters where, that's kind of why I said at the beginning, like, you know, it's a delicate one. Because criticism of something like this is met with skepticism.
Right.
Because it's like, well, why are you being critical of people that are like exposing all these horrible things?
Yeah.
But it's important because, like...
Well, critics for one thing.
Yeah, but like even outside of that, just like, it's not as if you want to keep the door open for contrarians and troublemakers to come in and like muddy the conversation. You want to keep the door closed to people that want to half-ass their way, who want to like seize the opportunity to half-ass their way into creating something that is considered important.
Say all that again, because you lost me a bit there.
Okay.
About closing the door to contrarians. What are you talking about there?
Yeah, it's not as if like, no, you want to keep the door open. Because like, you know, as an argument against criticizing something like this.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I'm not trying to keep the door open for people that want to come in and muddy the conversation.
Who's saying this now?
I'm just kind of speaking as to like why someone would not want you to be critical of this show.
Okay.
Or why criticism of the show, I think, would be met with skepticism.
Right.
Because, yeah, like this is the type of documentary you want to support. You want it to be out there. You want people to know about it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I think it's important to highlight its faults.
Yes.
Because you don't want people taking advantage of other people's trauma to make something that's broadly going to be considered like important.
Right, okay.
You know?
What's the contrarian aspect, though? That, because I hear contrarian in my...
Oh, it's just like, you're just saying that it's shit for the sake of it.
Oh, yeah, right. You were being the character of the producer saying, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of speeding through it. Sorry if that wasn't
I just
clear.
I got a little bit lost.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why I think it's important to,
Contrarians are important. Contrarians are important.
But in this context, my point is, you shouldn't be afraid of criticizing something that I think deserves it.
No, you shouldn't be afraid of it. Look, my thing is, it's kind of an unrelated point, but not really, is Christopher Hitchens talking about, it's a free speech thing.
Yeah.
But he says that someone who says the Holocaust didn't happen, and even if it did, it's not as bad as they've made out.
Yeah.
He said, not only is should that person's right to say that have more protection, because obviously what he said took some getting to.
Yeah.
And they said, but what he said might contain a grain sometimes of historical truth. And obviously, this is coming from a guy who obviously believes in the Holocaust and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you need crazy people to go, it didn't happen. The end of that is 9/11 was an inside job and all that kind of stuff. Everything is conspiracy.
Yeah.
But some conspiracies are true. And you actually need contrarians that are going to say that, because sometimes they're right.
I mean, that might have been how this whole thing started. Not just exposing what was happening in Nickelodeon, but even Me Too. You have people that are going, this shit's happening. And at the time, they may have been written off as conspiratorial.
Well, no, I mean, in the case of Me Too, that was an open secret. That's the whole problem of Me Too, is the casting couch, everyone knew about it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't spoken about.
Yeah.
So that's conspiracy then,
No, but if they went public with it, I think there was a worry that they'd been written off as conspiratorial.
Right.
And you were just you're just a disgruntled actress that was spat out by the system, and now you're trying to besmirch the names of these people,
Eric Weinstein is always a big purveyor of you should take conspiracy theories seriously, because COINTELPRO, he always goes into, the American government, they had programs where they were listening in on Martin Luther King's sex life to try and discredit him.
Yeah.
And they killed Fred Hampton, the FBI did, and stuff like this has happened in the past. And just go to him if you want a litany of things to Google.
Yeah.
About what mostly the American government has done.
Yeah.
And not to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm not. But I do hold that door open for contrarians and go, maybe you've got a point there.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that all you got to say?
Yeah, well, I think the documentary is flawed, ultimately. Like I said, it's clearly something that wants to be seen and wants to be talked about. So much so that its final episode is literally the documentary talking about itself and how important it is. I mean, it's weird because it's the content is so grim that it's not really the thing that you recommend to people.
Sure.
But I do think if you do want to know more about it, there are probably podcasts and articles, or even just high quality YouTube documentarians that have treated this subject with more respect
and rigor.
Yeah,
I think that's another thing we have to be unafraid of. We always feel we have to qualify. It feels weird recommending this bleak horror film.
Yeah,
but no, why should it? People want to see bleak horror films sometimes, and people want to engage with the news and reality sometimes. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, how do you want to do this, Sam? I've got Borderlands, B-O-R-E-D.
Right.
I've got Snorderlands.
Yeah.
I've got Borderlands with Z's at the end.
Right.
Or I've got Gorderlands, as in Gordy.
I didn't know we needed any of those. But if I had to pick one...
Please do.
Go through them again.
Borderlands, Snorderlands, Borderlands, and Gorderlands.
Snorderlands.
Yeah. Let's review Snorderlands.
Snorderlands, okay. Well, let's do the plot.
Okay.
Because we should start with that, and we need to keep reminding ourselves to do that.
Okay.
You know better than I.
Oh, fuck you. Yeah, Borderlands is an action film about people going to a place to get a thing.
Based on a video game.
Based on a video game in which people go to a place to get a thing, I think.
Don't know.
Borderlands, it's not a game that I've played. I have a passing familiarity with it. Mm-hmm. All I really know is that the main focus of Borderlands is the sheer quantity of guns that you can loot. And it has a very loud, common sense of humour. Brash sense of humour, yeah. Which I think the film is trying to adopt. Mm-hmm. But I think people like the sense of humour in Borderlands. And it doesn't seem to be met with the same praise.
Yeah, the tone of the video game
in the film
reminds me of Deadpool to some degree.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know if it's as fourth wall breaking as Deadpool,
no,
but it's
out there kind of
that kind of humour, yeah.
Supposedly out there. Borderlands is irredeemably awful. the film.
Right, okay.
Lifeless, pointless, and artless. God knows why Cate Blanchett is in it.
Well, God knows why anyone is in it.
But, well, I mean, Kevin Hart, I mean, you know.
But, like, they're all doing... You know, Cate Blanchett, she plays, like, Lilith, the main character.
Yeah.
I mean, she's made up to look like Lilith, but my understanding is that Lilith is a young character in the game.
Right.
Cate Blanchett is not a young
Well,
woman.
you know. Okay,
No, but, you know, like,
necessarily.
Kevin Hart, he plays, like, the super serious soldier.
Yeah.
Who's, like, this elite fighter, and in the games, he's, like, big and he's buff. And in the film, he's Kevin Hart.
Right.
It's not even Kevin Hart being funny. It's Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Trying to do, like, the serious role.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't think she's anything like her character. Everyone's kind of like... I think, like, the Tiny Tina character.
Yeah.
The annoying fucking child character.
Yeah. That's the closest.
Yeah, who's not even the most annoying fucking character in the film.
Yeah.
I think she's pretty close to her video game counterparts.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of the cast, it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Well,
Why?
I would say her being in it is up there with Pacino being in The Godfather and Jack and Jill.
Right.
And De Niro being in Taxi Driver and Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah.
Between this and Tar, Blanchett has come close to reaching both poles of cinematic quality.
Yeah, I mean, Tar is like, you're not going to get something that rivals Tar,
No.
like, a lot in your career.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether she was like, all right, I've done Tar.
Off the back
I
of
guess I'm done now. I'll just do like Borderlands.
Yeah. Well, the dominant feeling here is that she's just getting through it.
Yeah.
She mostly looks bored. The
Erlands.
kid... What?
Erlands.
The kid... Stop it. The kid from Barbie is annoying.
Yeah.
And Jack Black's vocal turn is annoying.
Yeah. Where are you with Jack Black at the moment?
I don't get why everyone hates him all of a sudden. Well, I do get it. It's because of the Kyle Gass thing.
Yeah.
But
I think it's
it's
that,
just-
and I think it's a combination of that, and
Yeah.
also he's kind of becoming the new Chris Pratt, where he's just in everything.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, my feelings haven't changed. Like, he's always done shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he just... Yeah, I don't know. The same as they always were.
Yeah. I mean,
you
the-
get Jack Black to do the Jack Black thing.
Yeah, well, the Kyle Gass thing, I think, was definitely a turning point
Yeah.
for some people, because
Yeah.
I think there are people on both sides where it's like, oh, Jack Black was absolutely in the right, and then people that were the opposite of that.
I am more towards that side of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then...
He was right.
Yeah, and then I think the Minecraft trailer did him absolutely no favours.
No.
Because he is just doing the Jack Black thing,
Yeah.
but it looks like they just put him in a t-shirt and went, go be in the film.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, he's in a lot of bad films, but always doing Jack Black. And
Yeah.
that can be a problem, but I don't know. Yeah, my impression of him hasn't changed. He's still Jack Black.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it features lines such as, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yes.
And God, I hate this planet.
Yes.
And you and what army? The one right behind me. And getting shot was not part of my job description.
Yeah.
With a straight face. Early on, there's some narration describing explicit on-screen action.
Yeah.
I talked to these kids and they directed me to this place, but then a robot came and tried to kill me that we just see.
Yeah.
I assume the game or games are generally good because they're the ones that tend to be adapted.
Well, they certainly have an audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is pretty damning of the franchise.
Well, funnily enough, they've just announced the fourth one.
Okay.
And I think that was... They were expecting it to be met more triumphantly, the announcement, because they thought the film was going to do really well.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's some speculation they actually brought the announcement forwards to kind of paper over the damage that the film has done.
Right.
Because, I mean, when this debuted... This is the big elephant in the room, is that when it debuted, it had a 0%
Yeah.
on Rotten Tomatoes. There's a moment, actually, in the film where... I can't remember the context, but Claptrap, who's the character that Jack Black plays. Jack Black Claptrap.
Jack Black Claptrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In reaction to something, he goes, 0%. Oh, I think he's talking about their chances of survival. And he goes, 0%. Wow, that's low.
Okay.
And if that's not in like every video essay
Yeah,
on
of
YouTube when talking about Borderlands, I'll be disappointed.
And it crept up, but not significantly.
No. But yeah, like I think within a couple of days, not even within a couple of days of the film coming out, you had like the CEO of Gearbox, who's the company that deal with Borderlands, going on Twitter being like, give it a chance, guys.
Yeah.
Please don't like rubbish the film.
Yeah, well, the film just makes it look like a shittier Fallout.
Yeah, like Fallout coming out earlier this year really didn't help it.
It's pretty damning of video games in general, to be honest. If you were gathering an impression of the medium based on this,
well, we've gone.
You'd walk away thinking they were juvenile and empty, and obsessed with in-world terminology and lore in that Zack Snyder way.
Yeah,
there's quite a bit of Snyder in the film, actually.
A little bit, yeah. No, we've kind of gone. It's like thrown us back to the point where like video game adaptations were a joke.
Yeah.
I don't mean broadly speaking. I don't think it's, because we got The Last of Us Season 2 had its trailer recently and everyone seemed pretty excited about that. But yeah, you had The Last of Us and then you had Fallout sort of on its heels and it's like, okay, yeah, it's happening. We're actually starting to get the hang of this.
Yeah.
Oh, Borderlands.
But I think everyone's trying to find a pattern, and I think there is something to be said for when you had The Last of Us, like, oh, you know, and maybe that inspired people to do them more.
Yeah.
But there's no sense looking for patterns, really. It's just that things that are popular get adapted. Some of them are good, some of them are bad.
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to, write this thesis on, are video game adaptations good? Are they bad?
Yeah.
Like, some are good, some are bad.
Yeah.
Like anything. A lot of book adaptations are bad. A lot more are good, as in a lot more percentage-wise than video game adaptations.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more to work with.
Yes.
You just take an interior life and you make it exterior, right? Video games, it's entirely different problem. There are loads of different issues that you encounter. So yes, there are going to be a lot of bad ones, and there are going to be some good ones, like anything.
Yeah.
But yes, I understand why, if you were gathering your impression of the medium based on Borderlands, you go, okay, not for me.
No, exactly.
It's carcinogenically unfunny.
Yeah.
Which might be okay if comedy wasn't half the point.
Yeah.
It's a putrid potpourri of so many different films and shows, I can't even be bothered to begin listing them. Given its reception, it's a solid contender for the Golden Raspberry, I think.
So many films are this year.
I know.
In a year where some decent stuff has come out, some pretty decent stuff has come out. I've already feel like I've got a fairly strong
Same.
top 10.
It's been a strong year and a very weak year.
I mean, yeah, what have we had? We've had Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2,
Yeah.
Rebel Moon 2.
Yeah.
If you want to count the director's cut of Rebel Moon 1 and 2 as separate films,
An upcoming
as
film
indeed Snyder has, because he's given them different fucking names.
Yeah, an upcoming film that we won't spoil.
The upcoming film we won't
Yeah.
spoil, Madam Web.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That's another one that we haven't done yet. But yes,
Yeah.
a lot. But then the best ones are very good as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like for me, The Zone of Interest, I think it's one of the best films ever made.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah. This is the quintessence of a bad modern movie. And I would like this to be the standard going forward. Let me explain.
Okay.
It didn't anger me like Blood and Honey 2 or Rebel Moon. It's simply bad. That said, there's an interesting corollary to that. In Blood and Honey, I did enjoy Piglet having his head blown up.
Okay.
In Rebel Moon, I thought Ed Skrein was really doing his best to be a pantomime heel. I have absolutely nothing positive to say about Borderlands.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have the most hollow consolation of, if all else fails, a hot actress to gawk at.
Okay.
There's not a Nicola Peltz in Age of Extinction kind of deal. All I can say is that I'm happy it wasn't longer. And it is for that reason, the absence of philosophical problems with the filmmaking next to Blood and Honey, and the fact that Eli Roth isn't as widely revered as a movie god as Zack Snyder, that it isn't the worst film of the year so far. Its saving pseudo-grace is its comparatively benign presence in the context of larger atrocity.
Yeah.
There is nothing at all for anyone at all.
No.
That's kind of my final word.
Yeah. I will say that, I watched it.
I also watched it.
Yeah. But, I watched Blood and Honey 2 and I was like, fucking hell.
You feel like you didn't struggle with this.
I sat there and I watched it and I didn't have to take breaks or anything like that. I know this isn't, the metric you should measure a film by. But I'm just because some of this stuff that came out this year is so bad that it does come down to, margins.
Yeah. Yes, it is margins.
And I think marginally...
Yeah.
I think I would not want to revisit any of the films that I've mentioned so far, but over Rebel Moon 2 or Blood and Honey, I'd go back to Borderlands first. And that's the only reason why I'm it's not as bad as those.
This is what's complex about it. I ended that by saying it's not as bad as those films.
Yeah.
But there's also nothing I liked about it.
Whereas I never want to see it again.
Yeah, there were tiny things I liked about the other two films. Tiny, micro things.
Yeah.
And they're worse, because I think Winnie the Pooh is philosophically putrid, and I think it's hard to ignore the reverence for Zack Snyder when you watch his films.
Yeah.
Even though, whether that should play a part, I don't know. But I would sooner watch Winnie the Pooh over the other two, probably.
Right.
Because it's bad. And I'd rather watch something that was, evil than something that was nothing.
Right.
Which Borderlands is to me. It's a big nothing.
Yeah.
With nothing good to say about it. Nothing to recommend it whatsoever to anybody. But it's not the worst of the year.
No.
But in that respect, it is.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, let's leave it on that, yeah.
The last stop in Yuma County. So, what's the setup for this, George?
We follow a guy We don't really know his name.
No.
He's just...
Jim Cummings.
Jim Cummings is the actor. We'll call him Jim Cummings. He's traversing Yuma County, middle of nowhere in the desert. And
Texas, like, as in, middle of nowhere America.
yes, exactly, yeah. Thousands of miles from anywhere at all. He stops off for...
Hundreds, maybe. Thousands might be exaggerated.
Okay, fine. Hundreds of miles. I'm not sure. He needs fuel, anyway, is the important thing. And he's not going to get anywhere he needs to go unless he stops for fuel.
Yeah.
So he stops for fuel, but the guy's like, oh, there's no fuel at the pumps. We need to wait for the delivery truck. Why don't you go into the diner for a while and just kind of wait it out? And so he does. And then so do a couple of other characters, and a couple of other characters, and a couple of other characters. And this is kind of like... It's kind of like the Hateful Eight a little bit, in the sense that everybody's kind of got ulterior motives.
Maybe.
But unlike the Hateful Eight, they're not all criminals and they're not all delinquents. Some people are just members of the public that are killing time. Some people have committed a crime and are trying to get away with it. And then some people are just there doing their job.
Yeah, again, it's like a parlor thriller, again, like the Hateful Eight was.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
I really, really liked it, yeah.
It's a very confident debut. It's the first time...
Yeah, that's what's cool about it as well, is it has the confidence of a film that you wouldn't expect from a debut film.
Yeah. It's very well put together and tightly written and comfortable.
Yeah.
It's fashioned after Westerns to a great extent. The setting of southern US, obviously. But also the tropes of bank robbers, a sheriff, that kind of thing. The title font is styled after the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
It's a neo-western, and as such, it's reminiscent of Tarantino's oeuvre, as you alluded to.
Yeah.
The Hateful Eight is perhaps the most obvious in terms of the setup, infused with paranoia and tension, but without the mystery. Tarantino's full-on westerns came later in his career. To me, this harkens back to his earlier works, that were incorporating some of those western elements less explicitly.
Okay.
Things like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, you have standoffs and that kind of thing, but they're not westerns.
Okay.
Before he became pure indulgence. It's a crime thriller with a sense of humour set in a diner, which is also reminiscent, of course, of the Coen brothers, along with the southern setting. Ultimately, it's more Coen than Tarantino, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's some money and characters vie for it. It's fun.
Yeah.
The cast is solid. Jim Cummings has a very interesting on-screen persona. Nervous, tightly wound. It's kind of like a slightly more put-together Woody Allen, but one that if he snapped would kill you. You know?
Okay.
Woody Allen would complain to his therapist.
Yeah.
This guy would murder you.
Yeah.
Sierra McCormick, who played the redhead girl, the hot one.
Oh, yeah.
She was Faye in The Vast of Night.
What?
Yeah, I know. That was a big surprise.
But she wasn't a redhead.
I know. But also she was like a kid. It felt like she was a kid. Anyway. It was nice to see villain face Richard Brake in a more substantial role than I'm used to. And niftily changes direction at an unexpected point.
What's the name of the guy that's like always in films that are kind of set in this bit of the world? I think he's been in Coen stuff.
Oh,
as
the
well.
guy that's in No Country, you mean?
Yeah,
the guy who's slightly hunched over with no neck. Yeah, the guy in the petrol station in No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
Oh wow, we've lived here for that guy.
Yeah.
Yes, he's in it.
I like him.
I like him too.
I like him a lot.
It's because he just kind of he has no neck and he just sort of potters towards you. And he's
such like a funny...
Yeah, funny object.
It's funny, yeah, exactly. But not in a degrading way.
No,
like, I genuinely like him.
No, it's what you'd call a character actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't know that guy's name.
The kind of person where you put him... who was it? It might have been like Every Frame a Painting when he did like his Coen Brothers video.
Yeah.
He kind of made the point that like the Coens kind of set up their shots and the kind of the content, the mise-en-scène of their shots so that you just look at a character, and you know everything about them.
Yes,
he's one of those guys.
He's one of those guys. I know it's another Coen film, but you could cast him as the guy in True Grit that sells her the horse. You know?
Yes,
he's that kind of guy.
Are we negotiating again?
Yeah, a Coen character actor. They have. I think John Polito for me is the quintessential Coen character actor.
Which one's that?
He's he's in Miller's Crossing. He's you with a high hat. He's Italian American. He's always very pent up.
Okay.
He's bald and he's got like a black mustache.
Okay.
Do you know him? You know him if you saw him.
Yeah.
In Big Lebowski, he plays a private detective. In Barton Fink, he's the assistant to the studio executive who he makes kiss his feet.
Oh, right.
You know,
okay.
yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
There's not really much to say about it.
Well,
in the end,
I mean, there are things to say about it.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to spoil it.
No. Yeah. It's short and sweet.
Yeah.
A very, very easy watch. And when the action ends, the film ends.
Yeah. But it's nice because it's a film that kind of it slowly like ratchets up the tension.
Yeah.
And there's a point where it breaks. And that's just really fun, the way that all of that kind of unfolds.
Yes, but I agree. I don't want to spoil it either.
Yeah.
But it's a strong recommendation from both of us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's got wide enough appeal, right?
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Trap. This
Doesn't.
less so, yeah.
Okay, so the setup for this is a guy takes his daughter to a Taylor Swift style concert, and then when they discovers that the police are all around, something's going on, and it turns out that it's basically a sting operation to capture a serial killer that's been active in the area.
I think it was M. Night Shyamalan, who is the writer-director of this. He said that it's sort of Silence of the Lambs at a Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah.
Which is as a premise, yeah, I want to watch that.
We're accurate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's not a spoiler to say, I think that Josh Hartnett, the dad, is the killer. They reveal that pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to talk about that to talk about the
And I
film, really.
think that's your twist.
Yeah, the twist comes early in the film, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah. It's a semi-interesting, if pretty dumb setup.
Yes.
But hey,
But didn't you say that this is like a version of this happened?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
But yeah, even if it's a dumb setup, hey, if a film has an idea, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Right? I read a bit about the technicalities of them filming a concert, and it's logistically impressive, even if it's not a pure one-setting thriller.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that as well. And the mechanics aren't impressive in an Emmanuel Lubezki way, but they're not striving for that level of ambition. The extras were given recordings of the songs beforehand, so they would know the words and could sing along, which are the kind of behind-the-scenes details that I like.
Yeah.
But as has been said about The Lord of the Rings, one can only be so impressed with good time management. But equally, whatever the results, in this case, we can't accuse Shyamalan of being lazy.
No, I'll give him that.
Yeah. It's always nice to see a bit of a career resurgence, even if the project is lacking. Josh Hartnett isn't really someone I've noticed, but he does have something. I liked him in Oppenheimer. Here he overdoes the innocent but sinister act. I don't think he's been miscast as much as misdirected.
I was going to say, how much of that is his fault?
I don't think it's his fault,
Yeah.
because it's a problem across the cast, but we'll come back to that as well.
Yeah.
Alison Pill, as his wife, is playing it large too, the nervous wife smiling widely and barely keeping it together. There were echoes of old. Performances in Shyamalan films have become a bit weird.
Yeah.
Going back to Wahlberg in The Happening. No, not at all.
Yeah.
There's an uncanniness about them, like aliens assimilating. Now that's either the writing or he's directing them that way. And it's got to be the latter, right?
Do you think he's trying to... Because I think there are certain directors, Wes Anderson is kind of the first one that springs to mind, where if you're going to be in a Wes Anderson film, there's a very particular performance you're going to deliver.
Yes, or an Aaron Sorkin film.
Yeah.
I would agree. But this isn't that, is it? It's like, oh, I'm in a Shyamalan film, I'll do the weird, uncanny...
No, I think it is that. I just think
thing.
Shyamalan hasn't, got it right. I think he is trying to create he wants his films to sound a certain way.
So I'm saying the actor's coming in and not like, right, I've got to do a Aaron Sorkin type performance.
Yeah.
I think he's directing his actors a certain way.
Yeah.
And the results are weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to its benefit.
No, not to its benefit.
Yeah.
It takes a certain type of, what word would I use? Design. It takes a certain type of design to get that unique mode of almost normal laughable. Which is what the performances are.
Yeah.
He's created a strange subgenre of unintentional comedy where you go, it's almost right. Almost human.
Yeah.
So I think Seleka, which is M. Night's daughter, isn't an embarrassingly bad actress. She plays the pop star. But she does have nepotism face. I don't want to be mean. And she is an R&B person. But she just doesn't have the aspect of someone you'd cast in that role. Do you know what I'm saying? She doesn't look like a hot pop star.
Well, I think when she's up on stage and kind of set at a distance...
That's fine.
Yeah, she does have that kind of aura to her.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that is afforded by the setting, because as soon as she's taken off the stage and she becomes a character...
Yeah.
That's lost completely.
And I mean, all that gets buried in music and lighting and all, those concerts, they can't go wrong, really.
Yeah.
They're so managed. Further to the uncanniness, it's like The Room, in a way. The causes are different. Seleka is a Nepo baby, and I'm sure bereft casting options partly explain The Room.
Okay.
But Lisa, the character in The Room, who's meant to have all these men falling in love with her and killing themselves over her because they can't have her, she's not ugly, but you look at her and you go, no, that jigsaw piece is just improperly cut.
Yeah.
I don't know what those concerts are like, but I can imagine they're as insufferable as is depicted.
Yeah, I believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I put my parents through things like every child does, and they'd be the people to ask, but I don't think I ever inflicted anything that horrific on them.
Okay. I remember, I think my parents took me to see Thomas the Tank Live a few times.
Oh, yeah, that's kiddies. Like, that's not... Oh, God. Like, these baying, screaming throngs of teenage girls.
No, but it's like one of those, I think there's a pantomime component to it, where it's like, let's tell Thomas where to go.
Yeah, of course,
that kind of
but
thing.
that's different, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
my parents took me to see a Power Rangers show. I never asked my dad to drag me to,
Yeah.
like a mosh pit, or I never did that.
Yeah.
No, your dad likes them, doesn't he? But mine would go, oh God, must we? And I'm never going to have kids, because let's be realistic. But the thought of having to take...
Oh, you just threw that in there.
the thought of having to take my daughter to a concert like that is a compelling argument for sterilization.
Okay.
The joke is Shyamalan Ding Dong, right?
Yes.
And it is a bit annoying to keep having to say Shyamalan. So let's go with M&S.
M&S.
This is not just Blur, it's M&S Blur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
you've justified it.
I justified it.
Yeah.
Well,
So I was
also-
just going to go with Shammers, but I like your thing better.
Yeah. Anyway, M&S couldn't come up with a better moniker than The Butcher. That's the name of the killer in this. The
Yeah.
Butcher.
That's where you start from.
And it's always the
That's
place
like,
name
you know
before
what
the
you-
Butcher.
yeah,
The
you know-
Minneapolis Butcher.
You know, sometimes when you open up a document and there's default text already
Yeah.
in there? That's what the butcher
That's
is.
what the
for
Butcher
serial
is.
killer names.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bay Harbor Butcher from Dexter.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's quite common, the Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's described the film, like you said, as Silence of the Lambs at a Taylor Swift concert. As far as I can tell, that's purely because it involves a serial killer. And M&S has appropriated the Jonathan Demme close-up POV technique with the characters talking down the lens.
yeah. And I think they're also kind of going for that kind of, the rivalry between the male killer and the female,
If you like, the unseen female for
yeah,
most
but
of it.
she's not really a character in it.
No.
I mean, she shows up now and again.
talk about Deus Ex Machina. I mean, she basically is God in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea, the psychologist there kind of marshalling resources and sort of managing the operation from the control room.
Yeah.
The idea that she can predict his every move is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs, but I know psychologists can put together a half-decent picture of a killer where
Yeah.
they can make a good guess about their marital status, their race, even their age, and have some insight into their inner life. But not, it's 6 o'clock now, he's probably going to be going to the toilet.
Yeah.
Which is literally, essentially what she does at one point.
It's Tuesday, so he's probably searching for an egg.
Yeah, no, not Mars bar today, M&M's.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. At this point, the twist that the high-concept, claustrophobic, Hitchcockian thriller set in one location actually spreads out after an hour might be just as common, if not more common, than the actual Hitchcock thing itself at this point.
Yeah.
It's never fully captivating or convincing, but it goes completely off the rails after it leaves the concert.
Yeah.
It becomes tedious and boring even.
Well, I mean, what is the film, if not the concert?
Exactly.
It's kind of lost its only thing, really.
Yeah, and they leave the concert and then he goes home and things are a bit awkward and then he's caught.
Yeah.
With some bullshit. He hallucinates his mum because the psychologist knows that he'd have a weird relationship with his mother.
Right.
Yeah. Ultimately a cabbage, but not for lack of trying. I'll give him that. He tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not as bad as Old.
It's not as bad as Old.
I didn't see Knock at the Cabin, so I don't know if this is an upward trajectory or not.
Knock at the Cabin was probably a little bit better than this.
Than Trap?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting, okay.
Yeah, a little
so he's
bit.
actually gone down on the graph.
Since the happening, he's not done anything good. Do you know what
No,
I mean?
I know, but yeah, if we're just charting his progress film
Okay.
to film, he's gone down to Trap.
It's like a wave, but a very narrow one. Whose width, what do you call it? The bandwidth or whatever you want to call it. What do you call it in a sound file? What do you call that? The waviness of it.
Just the waveform, I think.
Yeah, but how severe it is in terms of going up and down.
Okay.
Okay, well anyway, it's not severe.
Yeah.
It goes up and down, but it's very slim. That's it. That's all I got for Trap.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a recommendation.
It's not.
No. It's a shame because, as a concept, I think there's mileage in that. Oh yeah, you said we were going to come back to it later. The fact that this is based on something that happened.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's not my notes, but yeah, I did read up a little bit on it. It was a sting operation by, I don't know if it was the FBI, but a bunch of police departments where they sent out letters to the homes, the last known addresses of wanted fugitives.
Yeah.
That said, if you turn up at this centre, you'll get free tickets to a Giants game or some sporting event. And then, like hundreds of wanted fugitives turned up. And all the people that worked there, the cheerleaders, people that worked at the ticket office, everyone, janitors, were all undercover police officers.
Right.
So it has a grounding.
That sounds really cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Just do a film about that.
Yeah, that sounds much cooler.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, there's none of that. Like, all the police officers are there in uniform, in trap.
Yeah, with guns.
With guns,
and not just guns as the cops have guns. Like, in the UK, if you go to the train station sometimes, there'll be armed officers, and they've got those fucking, like MP5s.
Yeah, rifles.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Inside Out 2.
The biggest animated film ever, Sam.
Unadjusted, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. They're all going to be... The next big one's going to be bigger than this,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, Inside Out 2, it's overtaken The Lion King 2019 as the biggest animated film ever.
Yeah.
Have you heard about it?
Inside Out 2?
Or thought about it since you watched it?
No.
Yeah.
No, but I mean...
I saw adverts for it when it went on Disney+, but other than that, I've not spoken to anyone about this film.
I thought a lot about it while I was watching it.
Okay.
And I will tell you about that. But no, it's not lingered in my thoughts since then.
Yeah.
No.
Or in the world, I think.
But you look at the top 10 now and you go like, oh, that, okay, yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that, right? But I think just kids go to things and things cost more money. So like a big kids film is going to be the biggest film evs.
Yeah.
Or close to it. Well, Inside Out 2. It's alright, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the plot? Go on, give us the plot.
Yeah, okay. So, kind of off the back of the first one, which was, it was the story of, like, Riley and her emotions that takes place inside her head. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of cutting back and forth between Riley and, like, the inside of Riley's mind. The whole thrust of the first film was that there's a place for sadness.
Yes.
Because joy, the kind of primary emotion, she was trying to, like, take charge of everything. She didn't see the point of sadness.
Yeah.
But then the events of the film kind of make her realise, we should all like work as a team. There's a place for all of us.
Yes, integrated personality.
Yes, because I think she kind of hits... it's like a big emotional event because she's moving across the country to San Francisco with her parents. And like at the end of the film, she's now able to create memories that have a mixture of emotions.
Bittersweet.
Yeah. They're not just happy memories or sad memories. They're bittersweet memories and stuff like that.
Complexity.
Inside Out 2 is Riley hitting puberty.
Yeah.
And so with that comes a whole raft of new emotions. The primary one being anxiety.
Yes.
Played by Maya Hawke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ennui
and envy.
Yeah.
And embarrassment. And very teenager-y. They kind of those emotions kind of get heightened and... much like the first film, it doesn't concern itself too much with explaining what they are or what's going on or
I think
where they came from and why the emotions have emotions and stuff like that.
We'll come to the nitty-gritty of all that stuff, I think.
Yeah, it's more just about because I mean most Pixar films are road trip movies and this is all just a premise for the original emotions, with the exception of sadness, they get banished to the back of Riley's mind.
Yes.
So they have to make their way back to Riley's the HQ where Riley is controlled before anxiety completely destroys her.
Dominates, okay. Yeah, most of the time it's a worthy but less pure inferior follow-up.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that. I haven't much to actually say about the film itself. I liked the joke about nostalgia, voiced by June Squibb, whom I love, as I said.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that I liked the sarcasm joke. I did like that. I'm not a pun person either.
There are little things like that in the first one as well, where it's just the train of thought being an actual train. It's that's nice.
Yeah, Jake, it's Cloud Town. Yeah, little things like that. There's some more of that mixed animation style business. I'm already sick of that. Spider-Verse got a lot to answer for.
It didn't start with Spider-Verse.
No, I know that.
But I think that's why we're seeing it more often now, isn't it?
It does over-egg the pudding, I think. This film.
What? Just the film in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of the nature of the setup, it's the kind of film where one is constantly thinking about what you would do differently and the myriad story possibilities. It was for this one anyway. One doesn't want to overanalyze it. It is just a kid's film, and I'm not saying that in its usual context. I'm not saying it to excuse lazy filmmaking. That's when you usually hear it, right? Who cares? It's a kid's film.
Yeah.
I just mean the little flaws or contradictions or missed opportunities really don't and shouldn't matter to the target audience. I know kids will love it, and that's important to say, but as a 29-year-old man watching it without children, I'm going through something a little different, and my brain is trying to apply a certain rigour, so let's overanalyze.
Okay.
some of the personalities can be rolled up into the same thing.
Okay.
I think we can agree that anxiety is a form of fear.
Yeah. Is it unique enough?
Well, we'll go into that.
Okay.
So instead of introducing a new character, merchandising notwithstanding, why not give fear a bigger role in this film? If they keep making sequels, which I wouldn't mind, just rotate the characters in terms of their significance.
Yeah, because Joy and Sadness were the protagonists.
Of the first one.
And Joy is very much the main character of this film as well,
Yeah.
but Sadness takes more of a back seat, doesn't she? Because her story's kind of done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the onset of puberty, so Joy gets sidelined, Fear takes charge, and the other three run rampant without any firm central guide. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
I know that risks repeating the first film, but you just find a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
They could do a film about Riley's first love, right? So this would be an example. And Joy is getting a bit carried away with herself and neglecting other things. Then when the breakup happens, she's usurped by the other emotions and thrown in brain prison. When she comes out, her hair would be really long and she'd be all disheveled. It's the longest she's gone without any expression, right? And then she's brought back to have a say when the experience loses its sourness and she can remember the happy moments. I quite like the idea that the emotions are always in various stages of conflict across the films. So depending on the situation, they would completely forget the experiences and bonds formed in previous films. All that goes out the window. The marriage of Sadness and Joy was a critical revelation in the first film.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about that just after a breakup? Joy has no place in that mind.
Yeah.
So they're always forgetting the lessons they've learned.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's a reflection of real life.
Yeah.
But would that not be frustrating as an audience member?
I'm not saying you completely forget everything, but it doesn't matter in that moment. It's like, no, go away. You do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be more interesting if the existing emotions developed new strains, like new limbs. So fear grows anxiety. Sadness grows ennui. That way, each emotion gets more rounded and accrues more baggage as life goes on, which is, of course, what happens.
Yeah.
Also, anger and sadness should be twins. Different colours, but the same species. That's just a side point.
Oh, okay.
Because they're the same thing. Are there moments there? Are there
Why?
moments anger comes from sadness? Are there moments in the first film
Why?
where... let's not go into that.
No.
Are there moments...
No, I do think that's something...
I think we've talked about it on the podcast before.
Okay.
Most anger comes from hurt. You're
Right.
hurt and that makes you angry.
Okay, well, is it fair then to say that anger comes from sadness?
That's what I said.
Rather than anger and sadness come from the same place?
No, anger comes from sadness.
Okay.
That's why I say they should be different colours but the same species. You've got in the father's head or whatever, there's all different types of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're different colours or something.
No, they're not different types of anger. Anger's the one in charge.
Oh, okay. Do we sometimes see though it's the same thing but a different colour?
No, I think it's just because I think in the mother's head, sadness is the primary one.
Okay. I mean, we're talking about a tiny detail that would work for me. If anger and sadness were the same thing, but sadness had feminine hair.
Okay.
And they were different colours, but they were the same race. As
Right,
it were,
okay.
Are there moments in the first film where fear is expressing fear about something that might happen? There have to be, right?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Because I kind of see where you're going with this.
Yeah. Because I'd have to think almost exclusively.
Yeah.
It's never there's a big dog running at them. It's always, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Right? That blows anxiety out of the water because the rationalization of her existence is that fear is about immediate response. Anxiety is about projection.
Yeah.
So that would imply that his role in the first film would just have been purely...
He's just a reactionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's always we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't go in there.
Yeah.
So that's bullshit.
Okay.
Fear expressing fear brings me to the next point, and I think you alluded to this as well. The emotions having emotions is a bit annoying, but only in that purest way.
Yeah.
I know it would be impossible otherwise. I do know that.
Yeah.
And yes, for the target audience, it absolutely doesn't matter. But one can readily personify toys and fish. It's somewhat trickier to personify an emotion because a person has many.
Yes.
It's similar to doing a film where food is personified and one of the characters is a salad.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
If you really want to get a bit batshit, let's do a film inside their heads.
The salad.
No, the emotions.
Oh, right. Okay.
That would be something.
Yeah.
It occurred to me I wouldn't be able to tackle a story like this without figuring out incredibly rigid rules and constraints.
Yeah.
It's so open to not making sense, and it's functionally limitless. Beliefs are a major component too now, right? In this film.
Yeah.
It's an overwhelming canvas. Incidentally, if we say that the demo guys, so these guys come up with cranes and wrecking balls.
Yeah.
With their orders are hormones, for example. She's puberty now. It's hey, come on, guys,
Yeah.
fucking smash this place up. Who is the boss? The boss...
Yeah, if not the emotions.
Yeah, the boss is being itself. That's the only logical conclusion.
Oh, is that what we're working our way up to? When they have to meet being?
I think that would be a stretch, but like that's the only thing you can think, right? It's like, hang on, who are these guys?
Yeah.
There's something else ordering things. So it's either God or it's being itself. Try personifying that motherfucker. But I do want to see them try. For me, it was really saved by the ending.
Okay.
Not that what comes before is lacking per se, but I went from simply watching it and daydreaming about my own version of the script to being charmed by it. As action climaxes in the context of a brain go, a panic attack is probably the zenith.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a heavy stigma about panic attacks, but I feel like there has been a marked uptick in their depiction and indeed their suffering in the real world. They used to be uncommon. We used to be able to experience nervousness and anxiety without our bodies going into turbo mode.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the panic, for lack of a better word, I guess anxiety around a panic attack, is that it's kind of indistinguishable from a heart attack, isn't it?
If you don't know what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's like, I think people generally don't know what they are, which is why they're so scary.
I've had a panic attack and I thought I was having a heart attack. Yeah. Absolutely. But I just missed the word nervous as well. I know we've talked about that before. No one ever says, oh, I'm really nervous, so I'm anxious. You can be nervous. Of course, you're going on stage, you're nervous. It's not anxiety. It's not a condition. Anyway, in the first film, the climax was whether she would get on the bus to run away from home. In this, it's a teenage panic attack. I'm curious what they would be going forward. And all of the emotions hugging the sense of self was nice.
Yes.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I gotta admit. I thought it was very well done. And I think it's cool, to be earnest, that kids who saw the first one and are now older get to grow up with Riley in the way that we did with Andy.
Do you know, that's actually very nice, yeah. If this series does continue, which it will...
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing ever. It will.
We've got a new TV series coming out.
Oh, well,
Dream Productions or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah, but that's like focused on a different part of the mind.
Yeah, but it's the same universe.
Yeah. But yeah, just like the idea that there's a surrogate. Kind of like 7-Up, that TV show, where you're kind of like growing up with people in real time. Yeah. The kids have a version of that.
They have their own version of that.
It does beg the question, though. I know that like Pixar's stuff, it's kind of tailored to be accessible for people of most ages, even though it understands that kids are kind of the primary audience. Do you think that's going to affect, if they do something like that, where Inside Out 3 comes out in like 2030 and Riley's like getting married or something? I don't know if it like quite lines up.
Yeah, I don't think they'd ever go that far. I think you can use Andy as the good analogy, is like when he's college age.
Yeah.
I know it's not in his head, so it's a little bit, but they just kept him kind of innocent and sweet, They wasn't dealing with like his sex life or anything.
No,
I know you're not saying that.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, would the films also kind of grow up? And I'm not thinking of like, oh, they'll start swearing and stuff.
Do you know what? There's actually probably not, because our emotions are always going to be juvenile.
Yeah,
aren't they? So like, even if you're getting married, the stress and anxiety that it would still be, oh my god, is he going to love me forever? Like they might express themselves. The things they're expressing are more adult. But that's the point about emotions. They are, people say, "Oh, don't think with you, think with you logically or whatever."
Yeah.
Because they're always juvenile. They're childish. That's what emotions are.
Yeah.
But anyway, for us, of course, Andy will always be. Riley will never come close to Andy. Andy will always be our, But that's the way that goes, isn't it?
Yes.
I left the film thinking about the complexity of human emotion, how one thing informs the next, and how that informs the next 10, and how those 10 inform the next 1, and how the hell did a species like us manage to evolve. And even if we never make it in the industry, how lucky we are to be able to write and invent people from scratch and try to get a grips with it all, and how it's all a bit beautiful, really. Ultimately, I want, nay, demand, a film set in the father's head.
Okay.
That I really want to see that. Because the glimpses we get are so fun.
Yeah.
I just want to see a film set in the father's head. Again, not like so they can be talking about porn and NASCAR, but just,
the two male
things, and beer, and tits. That's all I got.
Okay. It's a little like, I think it is a nitpick for me. I think this might fall into what you were talking about. Where it's like, it doesn't really matter, especially given like what it's doing and its target audience. The emotions all have like a very specific design to them, obviously. Like monochrome kind of design. Sadness is all blue or primarily blue. Disgust is green. Fear is purple. I'm sure there's some colour theory bullshit going on there.
Well, blue. I mean, that's as simple as that, probably.
Yeah. Why does Joy have multiple colours? Why is she yellow and blue and like,
The most rounded, maybe?
Is she? Is Joy the most
she's
rounded one?
She's depicted as being the most rounded. She's like
makes-
the leader that orients them.
Well, that's the thing. It makes sense in the context of the film because she is the primary one. Therefore,
Yeah.
it would make it would make sense that she has the most colour to her.
I think they've taken liberties in terms of the other characters are pretty much pure what they are.
Yeah.
Joy isn't pure. It's like, oh my god, she's not someone that has to be like all right, fucking calm down. She's just normal, really.
Yeah.
She's positive and bubbly.
Yeah.
But she's the normal one.
She's Amy Poehler.
She's Amy Poehler,
The actress who plays her, yeah.
Yeah, whereas the sadness is pretty much just sad. Anger's pretty much just angry.
Yeah.
They have to have, I guess, the logic was they have to have a character that can kind of be a little bit more, have more dimensions to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, it's an impurity, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that, with a film like this from an adult mindset, you're always going to be thinking about the impurities.
Yes, and another impurity that kind of off the back of that as well is the fact that when you see the emotions in other people's heads, primarily the mother and the father, the emotions have a similar core design to the ones in Riley's head.
Yeah.
But there's always some detail about them that's reflective of the person.
Glasses and...
The mother's glasses, the father's mustache. Is Riley the only one where her emotions are not coded to her actual appearance?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And in which case, why?
Yes.
Because I think it's all... Am I right as well in thinking that all of the mother's emotions are female and all of the father's emotions are male?
I think so.
Again, in which case, why does Riley have a mixture?
Yeah. No, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But that's just like... The answer is, there's no answer to that question. It's just, they'll all do the dad's head and they'll have a mustache. That's funny.
Okay.
It is, isn't it? That's the answer to it. They haven't... It's like when people overanalyze... I know we just overanalyze it a bit, but only in terms of like what you could do within those constraints.
Yeah.
And with all that limitless, capacity.
Yeah.
When people say like, oh my god, like the fact that the mother, she's dominated by sadness, like this detail that's just kind of glossed over, and like, the film doesn't want you to think, oh my god, the mother must be really sad.
Yeah.
And the father's like really angry. No, it's just they wanted to differentiate it. The sadness blue, there's the bit of like the wearing the cardigan with a cup of cocoa and a cat. That's more female. And a bloke with a mustache, like, oh, the Patriots lost. That's more male.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you meant to leave thinking, wow, like they have issues, those parents. Like, she's probably like unhappy with their marriage and he has these anger issues from his childhood. And it's like, no, like don't overthink it in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Did you like Maya Hawke? Because, I mean, she's the other main character of the
I
film.
didn't think anything of her, really. A weird person to cast as anxiety.
Yeah?
Well, because the other ones seem like so obvious. Like, of course, Phyllis Smith is sadness.
Yeah.
Of course, Lewis Black is anger.
Do you think a part of it is just that, like, these newer emotions are slightly harder to characterize?
Yeah, except Ennui. It's got a French woman.
Oh, yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah,
and June Squibb absolutely works
As
for nostalgia.
yeah. But Walter Hauser's embarrassment?
Yeah.
Not so much.
Like, what's embarrassment?
Yeah.
What actor
Woody
embodies is... What actor that they would hire...
Yeah.
embodies embarrassment. Kind of the same with envy as well. Like, how do you really characterize envy?
Yeah, envy's a hard
without them just, like, displaying envious behaviour.
Yeah, I mean, envy is... It's not something that you'd want to... It's not a personality trait you'd build a cinematic persona around, is it?
No.
Whereas, like, Woody Allen playing the nervous New York Jewish guy, that's something. Or Lewis Black being a raging, whatever, Bill Burr. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, my guy is that I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Like, who do you cast? Like, oh, we got a guy that's jealous. Who? And, you got the list in Hollywood of the usual actors. Like, you go down the A-list of hunky leading man. We can't get Chris Pratt. We'll get blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't imagine there's one for jealous guy.
Yeah.
Really, is there?
Or girl. So I think...
jealous girl. Yeah,
she's girl. Obviously, it has little problems. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think broadly it's perfectly fine.
I think it's perfectly fine, like I said. An inferior follow-up, but the ending does win you over, I think.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. It is a shame about Pixar that, like, this is kind of probably the best one we've had in a while, and probably the best one we will have for a while.
I would agree.
Because they seem to be recommitting to doing sequels again now. Mm-hmm. But, I do think it's worth watching. But I guess everyone has already seen it, given that it's, like, made the most money ever.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, then we will see you in volume 4.
Bye-bye.
Bye.